It is still a very active police scene here as authorities are investigating this fatal accident. We're talking about a major drug distributor for southeast Minnesota. According to the Byron Education Association, both sides met with the state mediator last night for 9 hours after contract negotiations stalled. Still no deal on a federal spending bill as Congress nears a midnight deadline. Two Rochester musicians are working to make sure future music stars come out of the Med City. A recent state law is also making it easier for you or a loved one to purchase Narcan without a prescription at pharmacies across the state, including this one in Rochester. Months after fallout from the Rochester Civic Theater, the board has adopted a new harassment policy. The winter storm also grounding planes at the Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport. Rochester police has confirmed with us that one person was shot and another taken into custody. On to our other top story. Protesters gathered outside Mayo Clinic in Rochester today. We're following breaking news in southeast Rochester where police are searching for a wanted man. We go straight to ABC 6 News anchor Carson Forsman, who arrived on scene just moments after police. Tonight, two Mayo doctors have gone viral, not by what they're accomplishing on the operating table, rather it's what they're doing away from it. Speaking of fun, I bet everyone had a lot of fun today with the gorgeous weather.
You had to.
Yeah, a lot of people are grilling out. Absolutely. There is no question naloxone, also known as Narcan, saves lives. But some are worried a piece of the solution to our opioid crisis could create another problem. Reports have circulated online of more layoffs coming in the wake of Mayo Clinic Health System's consolidation. This is a winner that slim and you're not even going to share with us?
Yes, you would. Don't lie. I would.
$1, yeah. $1. That man was hilarious.
I love that
his
reaction.
honesty. I don't want it.
I don't want it.
So get this
A
junk
hand
out of
warmer
here.
cell phone cover? What? What can you do
Thanks.
this? My phone already drains too fast.
Good night.
ABC 6 News at 10.
8 months after Justine Damon's death, a former Minneapolis police officer is now charged with murder. Good evening and thank you for choosing ABC 6 News. I'm Laura Lee.
And I'm Noelle Anderson. Mohammed Noor remains in the Hennepin County Jail tonight on a $500,000 bond.
Hennepin County Attorney Mike Freeman says they did hundreds, if not thousands of hours of investigation. But the decision comes down to a 13-minute period. Court documents say at 11:27 p.m. on July 15th of last year, 40-year-old Justine Damon called 911 to report a possible sexual assault in the alley behind her home. At 11:37, Officer Noor and his partner arrived. Court documents say at the same time Damon was calling her fiance, the officers drove through the alley using a spotlight to search for people. At 11:39, prosecutors say Damon hung up the phone telling her fiance, quote, "Okay, the police are here." In the squad car, Freeman says Officer Noor relayed a code 4 to dispatch, explaining that they were safe. A few seconds later, Noor's partner says they heard a voice and a thump from behind the squad car. The complaint says Harity unholstered his gun, holding it in his ribcage, pointing it down. Prosecutors believe Noor fired the fatal shot at 11:40 p.m.
He reaches across in front of his partner.
There is no known video of the actual shooting. However, prosecutors say body camera footage captured Officer Harity telling his supervisor that Justine Damon came up to the side out of nowhere and that both officers got spooked. Mohammed Noor's attorney released this statement today saying in part, quote, "Noor again personally extends his continued condolences to her family for their loss." It goes on to say the facts will show that Officer Noor acted as he had been trained and consistent with established departmental policy. Justice for Justine was the message today as close friends and neighbors gathered with community members in a rally not far from the spot where she was killed.
So let it be known that although we do have a officer charged,
Damon's death drew international attention. It cost the Minneapolis police chief her job, and it forced major revisions to their department's police body camera policies. Tonight, the race to catch a serial bomber after another explosion in Texas, the 6th since the beginning of this month. Austin authorities responded to an explosion at a Goodwill store, injuring at least one person. However, investigators saying that they do not believe they are connected. Police saying the explosive device was not a package bomb. Earlier today, a 5th package exploded with nails and metal at a FedEx facility. That package was headed for Austin.
We've now brought in the new element that that device was actually going through one of the carrier services instead of being hand-delivered, as was the case in the first 3.
Officials say that the individual who shipped the package shipped a second package, which was intercepted and is now in the hands of investigators. So far, the bombs have killed 2 people.
A Rochester man is charged with 5 counts of murder and Saturday night's double stabbing.
According to court documents, surveillance video shows 53-year-old Glenn Johnson stabbing one of the victims in a hallway at the Castle View Apartments. Investigators say Johnson goes into and out of the victim's apartment several times. On one occasion, he comes out without 2 of the knives he was seen holding in the video. Eric Fleming and Philip Hicks died at the hospital. Bail is set at $3 million. ABC 6 News reporter Elise Ramos is live in the newsroom with the board's decision tonight. Elise? Well, in Southeast Minnesota, the Austin Bruins and Rochester Ice Hawks make up the junior hockey landscape. And now the 2 organizations could become one. Huge development. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. All right, well, up next, murder charges are filed in the double homicide in Rochester over the weekend. What investigators relied on for evidence.
Plus, a stray dog in Austin shot and killed by police. What authorities say the dog did that forced the officer to shoot it. At the helm of one of Minnesota's fastest growing cities and home to Destination Medical Center is this man, Mayor Ardell Brady.
Doesn't get any better than being the mayor of Rochester.
From welcoming guests to Rochester to voting on policies that impact the city to visiting classrooms, he's enjoyed every minute.
When I first got elected back in 2002 and took office in 2003, I thought, well, if I have this one term, maybe one more, that would be, 8 years, and I thought that would be pretty good.
Now in his 16th year as mayor, he's hanging up his hat.
To think that this will come to a close, yeah, it is kind of emotional.
Emotional because he fell in love with the role, one he had no intention of ever taking.
I came here from Austin a couple of years at Austin Junior College, planned to work here for a couple of years, make some money, and go back to college to become a Lutheran pastor. And then I met this cute student nurse. This whole story changed.
His story nowadays again goes back to the beginning. His first love, that student nurse.
Wonder how many times I've tied a tie in my life.
In one of his best suits,
Got it.
buttoning his jacket and straightening his tie,
Ready for Judy?
Ardell Brady goes to visit his wife.
Hi, Judy.
At least once a day, he goes to the Madonna Towers Nursing Center, where his wife has lived for the past year and a half,
Here you are.
being cared for because she has dementia.
But what's been different is, and it's encouraging in a very real way, that in some ways the dementia isn't as strong as it was.
Judy suffered a couple seizures a few years back, and from there her health took a turn.
It's just, it's more lonely. And probably I don't eat as well as I should. It's always a joy to see her every day, and I know the feeling is mutual on that. I'll see if I can get these out of here, Judy, without breaking them.
Like a doting husband, Ardell simply sits with her, sharing his day with his wife, talking about current affairs at work, and reminiscing about their past.
We went to Italy.
Listing off all of the places they've traveled to together. But their favorite place was Paris. And just like that, Judy came back.
And I'm ready to go again. That's one of my favorite places to go.
But like the disease so often does,
What are some of the things that you love about Paris?
it crept back in.
I don't know.
The two have been married for more than half a century. Their first date at one of the most historic places in the city, the Chateau Theater.
Our first real date was to go to the movie there, and the movie was Summer Place. That particular song, whenever we hear it on the radio, wherever, I think we both tend to glance at each other right away, because that's
Our song.
the
And it seems the song hasn't lost its touch.
recognize it, Judy?
Yes, I do.
Judy, silently listening, her heart knowing every beat.
If I could talk to Judy and ask her one thing, how would she describe you? Not as the mayor that we know you as, the man, Ardell.
Well, I'd love to hear that. No. Someone that loves her. A good partner. I think think.
And maybe that's what sets him apart, because at the end of the day, when the mayor pin comes off, he's simply a man
We can go down for supper.
who loves his city and his wife.
So it may not be Bedford Falls, but it has been a wonderful life. You're entranced with the music.
I am.
That's all right though, dude. God's timing is perfect, because if I would have left in November, I don't know if I would have made it.
It's a change for Jordan to be dealing the cards, because 15 months ago,
911, what's the address of the emergency?
he was dealt a dangerous one.
I wanted to deal with the pain. I couldn't handle it. So I just turned back to what I knew.
After the death of his best friend to a drug overdose, the 24-year-old fell back into the world of drugs, overdosing on heroin.
The addiction is strong and it's powerful, and it's always calling.
Narcan was used to save his life. According to a 2015 report by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, nearly 27,000 lives have been saved by the opioid-reversing drug.
Naloxone, or Narcan, is a well-recognized, long-standing antidotal treatment. It's actually one of the few antidotes that is truly effective and life-saving.
Dr. Matthew Steinkreitzer, Associate Professor of Emergency Medicine at Mayo Clinic, is in charge of training first responders on how to administer Narcan in the field. He says the opioid crisis is far from over.
We had a system that highly emphasized pain management as a vital sign. There's going to be an entire generation of people that are going to have to go through rehab.
Last July, the CDC awarded more than $12 million to 23 states to combat the opioid epidemic. Minnesota was one of them. As part of the state funding, our area received more than 24,000 doses of naloxone. A recent state law is also making it easier for you or a loved one to purchase Narcan without a prescription at pharmacies across the state, including this one in Rochester. But can this life-saving drug have unintended side effects?
It is an interesting question. There is some anecdotal data, some surveys and the like, that suggest that a small portion of users will actually try and push the envelope and use more drug if they know that there's a rescue available. But that's different than initiating use.
A concern first responders share, including Rochester Police.
2123, I copied the call en route.
Officer Steve Osborne has responded to hundreds of opioid overdoses, once administering Narcan during a medical call.
I was the first one on scene. I think I was, probably about 30 seconds away from the place when the call came out. This little nasal adapter on there, and you basically put it in someone's nose, squeeze half a tube on one side, half a tube on the other side, and then wait for a response.
How soon before they respond?
I've seen people respond in 10 seconds. I've seen people respond in a minute.
But Officer Osborne says naloxone can be a double-edged sword.
What we are dealing with is people aren't dying as much, right? Because they have that drug available. They're able to save a life. They're able to save a friend's life. Maybe somebody's able to save their life. They're saved every time, and I think that would form some sort of confidence for them, or some sort of invincibility that they can do the drug, they know they're going to be saved, so what are the risks?
For drug users, that mentality exists.
Yeah, I've personally been to needle exchanges where they just give you the Narcan too, so people are a lot more careless. If you're with someone who has Narcan, then caution to the wind.
For some people, it's actually becoming normal for them. They're used to the police showing up and administering Narcan. So I think it's going to create a false safety net for people, and they're going to continue to use maybe even more, knowing that there's a good chance that someone's there to help them.
Even so, Officer Osborne says the benefits of saving a life will always outweigh anything else.
Our job is to serve and protect, and if we can get there and save someone's life, that's what's expected of us.
A life like Jordan's, now in rehab at Minnesota Adult and Teen Challenge in Rochester, with a message to other recovering addicts.
I believe that there's a really good use for Narcan. I really wish that my best friend a year ago could have made it to the doctor and they could have given him Narcan. Dude, I think I got 7.
These days, he likes his odds.
I believe completely that there's only one way to stop opioid addiction specifically. You need to stop and ask for help. Yeah, I go to school.
Holding in his hands a much brighter future.
It may seem like you're so far from what you want in life or where you want to be, but there's a way to get there.